Trails is flat up.
Alexandra, how would you like to be in a time machine and travel into the future?
I would love it. And I bet you're referring to the time travel segment in our show today, but what about the other topics?
Oh, you mean about the skunks and the privileges they enjoy in a particular household despite the odor.
And a revealing look at the dangers posed by the buildup of nuclear waste.
So stay with us for an entertaining and informative half hour.
Time travel, a voyage into the past or future, a fantasy created by H.G. Wells. Maybe not. Scientists at Princeton University are trying to prove that time travel is not a myth. Richard Gott, professor of astrophysics at Princeton, uses pencil and paper to explain one of the most intriguing aspects of Einstein's theory of general relativity: time travel. According to Einstein, the time-space lines are curved, non-linear.
And you're used to traveling toward the future, but in general relativity, space and time can be sufficiently twisted so that you get a solution like this, where you find that it's possible, even though you're always going toward the future, at each point to return to your time and place where you started.
The theory also advocates that it's possible to travel into the future if the space displacement approximates the speed of light.
If you wanted to visit the Earth 1,000 years from now, all you'd have to do is find a star about 500 light years away, go out to it at very nearly the speed of light, come back at very nearly the speed of light, and when you returned home, you would find that the Earth was 1,000 years older, but you might be only 1 year older. So we know that it's possible to visit the future. That's easy. What's been discussed recently is trying to visit the past, and that's possible through general relativity, through Einstein's theory of curved space and time. Well, how does this work? Well, you remember the old limerick that said, there was a young lady from Bright. She traveled far faster than light. She left one day in a relativistic way and returned home the previous night. So Einstein showed that clocks slowed down as you went closer and closer to the speed of light. If you could go at the speed of light, theoretically, then your clocks would stop, and theoretically, if you could go faster than the speed of light, you could go into the past. The trouble is that special relativity doesn't allow you to go faster than the speed of light.
This is a highly speculative area in physics. What scientists like Gott are attempting to accomplish is to arrive at new formulas that conform to the laws of physics as we know them today. Professor Gott and his pupil, Li-Shen Li, have just published a treatise demonstrating that time and space coexist in perpetual motion. This vision lends credence to a new theory explaining the beginnings of the universe.
That the universe, in our picture, was not created out of nothing. It was created out of something. But that something was itself. Well, how would you do that? Well, you could do that with time travel if you could go back and have the universe make itself at the beginning. So it's a different picture for the origin of the universe that explains a number of questions that were not previously explained.
Like tree branches, other universes originated the same way, thus making way for time travel.
Now, interestingly, this is a model where the time travel region here ends right here. In other words, if you're up here, there's no time travel. There's no getting back to here. This universe has created three universes: this one, and itself, because this branch has gone around to grow up and become the trunk. But in this region, there is time travel.
We asked Professor Gott to explain more clearly how Einstein's theory of special relativity applied to time travel.
Special relativity produced many effects that were counter to common sense intuition. And the reason there were is that nobody had really seen spaceships traveling at near the speed of light and so forth. I mean, we have a Russian astronaut who spent 541 days in orbit. Now, according to special relativity, he's about 1/70th of a second younger today than he would have been if he hadn't gone on that trip. So these time travel effects are real. It's just that they're very small because we're not traveling at speeds really close to the speed of light.
As for the actual capacity for time travel, Professor Gott admits that even if we build an effective time machine, there will be severe limitations.
If you build a time machine, you can only use it to travel during the period in which the time machine is in existence. So if you built a time machine in the year 3000, you might be able to use it to go from 3002 back to 3001, but you wouldn't be able to use it to come back to the present time because the time machine wasn't in existence yet. If you went back in time and had lunch with yourself a year in the past, there'd be two of you sitting at the table. Well, how would this look to you? Well, your younger self would come in, and you would meet your older self, you would have lunch, and then you would go off, you know. You would come back, and you would come in, and you would have lunch with yourself. So you would experience the lunch twice, once as your younger self and once as your older self. But in that room where you had lunch, there were always two of you.
Needless to say, time travel is a fascinating subject for all of us science fiction buffs, as well as the general public. We attempted some brief interviews with the average person on the street. If you came across yourself in time travel, what would you say to yourself?
Hello?
Oh, I'd tell myself to wise up.
Oh, I would tell myself not to do anything that I was about to do because I screwed up everything.
For those who believe we may be able to change the past, is it for the better, and would we want to? Professor Gott is of the opinion that it will only be possible with the existence of parallel worlds.
You have a world where World War II never occurred. You have a world where people landed on the moon in 1972 instead of 1969. You know, there's a lot of different worlds. And then one of the concepts is that you might go in a wormhole, let's say, from back in time, and if you change something, you wouldn't change this universe, but you would change another parallel universe. That's the only way it looks like that it's possible to change the past. But even there, you're not changing this universe. You're just going off into an alternate one.
A skunk that's a house pet and doesn't seem to bother its occupants. It's the brainstorm of a biology professor who has his reasons.
This cute critter with the bushy and white striped tail is usually an unwelcome visitor. The infamous skunk, with its odoriferous reputation. When someone smells bad, he's compared to a skunk. The reason for its vile repute is a liquid with a terrible odor that it sprays as a defense mechanism. It comes from two glands located at the base of the tail.
They form a U, and they can look at you with both ends.
But the objectionable smell doesn't present a problem for Professor Jerry Dragoo, who holds a PhD in biology from the University of New Mexico.
Hey, big guy, what you doing? Oh, that's a good boy. Oh, come on. We played before.
And the reason is that he can't smell anything. His olfactory gland is missing.
So the first time I got hit, it was like, okay, I could not understand why everybody was so upset about it. And 3 days later, when I got back from the field, came down here and they kicked me out of the museum.
Jerry works in a lab at the university. Skunks are his specialty, and he enjoys his chosen line of work. Is this a good career move?
Working on skunks? Well, not really. I mean, my interests are in mammalian systematics and how mammals are all related to each other.
Do you like them?
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Dragoo demonstrated through DNA analysis that the subfamily of skunks should be elevated to the status of a regular family. Mephitidae which is Latin for stinkers. Are they affected by their own smell?
They don't like it.
I guess they won't fight amongst themselves.
They will fight with each other, and usually one skunk fighting another skunk, it's not to the death. And so in that situation, they will fight until one of them loses, and the loser will run away.
4 skunks have the run of Jerry's house. The skunks share a space with this cat, who doesn't seem to mind their overpowering odor. And when they go to sleep, they usually cuddle under Jerry's bed. He doesn't mind. He's fond of his pets.
Well, they're fascinating because, for one thing, they've got these scent glands that they rely on so heavily that they just have this attitude that nothing can bother them. And so they will do, a lot of people may think they're stupid when really they're just bold. They're just not afraid of anything. So they'll do things that other animals won't do.
They may be daring, but when they sense danger, it's better for a person to evacuate. Their spray is a potent weapon.
It's pretty powerful. It'll usually deter most predators. And a lot of people are very afraid of these things. The only time I've found them to spray is when they fear for their life. As long as their life isn't threatened, they're not likely to spray.
Their fear is justified because skunks are known to attack people. They're unusually strong in proportion to their size, and they're also known to carry rabies.
Well, they, like any mammal, can get rabies, and like all mammals, they will die from rabies. And the problem is they may carry the virus for a lot longer period than some mammals. In other words, it'll be in the system, but it's not active. If a skunk has rabies, it's in the dormant stage, it's not a problem. But if you take one of these inside and keep it for 9 months or so, and then all of a sudden the virus becomes active.
If you leave them alone, they can be pleasant companions. Well, to each his own.
Nuclear waste has been a popular but controversial subject of discussion. What dangers does it pose, and how do we dispose of it? Well, our mission today is to address this critical problem in a practical, unbiased manner.
We're over 2,000 feet underground in a tunnel leading to a nuclear waste dump. In the southwest of the U.S., near Carlsbad, New Mexico, there's a real subterranean city. Located in a deep mine shaft, it's the largest nuclear waste dump in the world. It's been completed for over 10 years, but it's now about to begin operations.
We're going through an airlock now. We're going to open an air door. It's going to be very noisy when I pull that string here. And the door will open toward us.
It's a long trip down to the bottom of the shaft and is protected by airlocks to isolate the workers from possible radiation contamination. This pilot project to isolate waste, called WIPP, for Waste Isolation Pilot Plant, cost the American taxpayers over $2 billion to complete. Scope interviewed engineer Norbert Remper with the Western Electric Company in his domain deep underground.
We are about 2,150 feet or 655 meters below the surface, below the desert floor. We are in the middle of a very massive formation of salt beds. These salt beds are over 2,000 feet thick in themselves.
This dump was created to house nuclear waste produced by the American government since the beginning of the Cold War in 1945.
The WIPP is designed to accommodate 175,000 cubic meters or 6.2 million cubic feet of this one specific category of radioactive waste. It will take us about 35 years to fill up the entire facility.
Engineer Remper has reasons to state that the waste earmarked for this repository fits into a special category.
We don't take low-level waste. We don't take high-level waste. We don't take civilian waste, let's say from nuclear power plants. The only waste that is supposed to come to WIPP comes from the making and the research for nuclear weapons in the United States.
What remains is less than 2% of nuclear waste from the manufacture of weapons. Don Hancock is the director of the Nuclear Waste Safety Program, an independent non-government agency in Albuquerque, New Mexico, monitoring nuclear waste deposits. He is critical of WIPP.
We have various concerns related to the site and the fact that the site itself is not safe, We have concerns about the transportation through 22 states to get it to New Mexico, which is not safe. And moreover, the project really isn't needed. It doesn't address the nation's nuclear waste problem. What the problem is, and the problem at these other sites, is waste that's leaking into the soil, being released into the air, or is contaminating the groundwater. None of that waste that's causing those problems is coming to this facility.
The waste materials are deposited 2,000 feet deep and surrounded by salt on all sides.
The reason why we need a repository such as this is that plutonium-239, in addition to being radioactive, it has a very long half-life. The time in which half of a given amount of plutonium decays to something else is 24,500 years. We cannot guarantee the continuity of the United States government or any other human institution for periods of thousands, 10,000s, or hundreds of thousands of years. So to put this waste away safely, away from the environment, just about the only way to do that is to put it deep in the Earth's crust. And we are in one such place that is ideally suited to do this.
The salt, which is allowed a vertical movement of a couple of inches per year, settles around the drums.
The idea behind WIP is to excavate an opening deep down underground in the salt, put the waste in there, and then let the salt flow in from all the sides around the waste, encapsulate it as if in a cocoon, and thereby isolate it from the accessible environment. So salt is a very suitable medium for deep geologic isolation.
One of the risks posed by Hancock is the permeability of the salt. What should have been used is a mineral that's impermeable, which fluids can't penetrate. Salt is not.
If this salt were permeable, and if there had been groundwater anywhere nearby, then the salt wouldn't be there anymore, because the groundwater would have penetrated into the salt, it would have dissolved it, and the salt would be gone.
Another risk is the possibility of salt water invading the drums, corroding them, and causing contamination of the area. Rampert assures us that he has taken infallible precautions. The drums are covered with bags of magnesium oxide, which prevent the radioactive properties contained in the waste from mingling with salt water.
I have every confidence that this waste will stay in this repository for much longer than 10,000 years.
This salt mine, incidentally, sits atop a black gold mine. That is, reserves of oil and gas, which gives cause for additional concern.
The site is situated in an area that is the nation's leading potash mining district, potash used for fertilizer, and one of the leading oil and gas production regions of the entire country. There are about 200 boreholes within 2 miles of the WIP site. The site itself will become like Swiss cheese as people drill into it and through the waste rooms to get to oil and gas.
We have oil and gas deposits, most likely right under the WIP. But the Department of Energy has bought 16 square miles of land, not just the surface, but also the mineral rights, basically from the surface down to the center of the Earth. So it has withdrawn these 16 square miles from public use. It has forbidden to drill, to mine. So we can't disturb it that way as long as the U.S. government continues to exist.
Yes, it's a 16 square mile site now that currently prohibits drilling. That won't last long term because oil and gas is already a precious resource. It's only going to become more so in the future.
Another item of contention which has stirred controversy is the shipping of the radioactive material to the dump destination.
We plan to receive waste by truck, but we do have the option of receiving it by rail.
The Department of Energy itself admits it's not using the safest means of transportation to WIP. Its own analyses have always shown that the safest transportation means would be by train. However, after spending millions of dollars to build a train spur into the site, they're not going to use it. They want to use trucks.
So we may change our mind in the future and take it by rail, but that doesn't have anything to do with the safety of this repository.
The Department of Energy itself admits there'll be at least 8 people killed and dozens injured from the transportation. They think that's safe enough. A lot of us don't think so, and in fact, we think the problems will be much more serious than what they say. They assume that there will never be a release of radioactivity throughout this entire process. We don't think that's at all credible. There will be, unfortunately, if WIP opens, a lot of accidents that would cause release of radioactivity.
Don Hancock's overall concerns are not to be taken lightly.
The materials coming to WIPP are dangerous. It's 12 or 13 or 14 tons of plutonium. So there would be over 800,000 55-gallon drums coming to WIPP. And so that 13 or 14 tons would be dispersed throughout these 800,000 drums. So it's small amounts of plutonium that get in your body, in your lungs, that what causes fatal cancer.
Despite all the criticism, WIPP has just received permission from the EPA to officially open the facility.
So we're pushing a variety of hot buttons. We deal with waste. Nobody likes waste. We deal with radioactive waste. I mean, nobody likes radioactive waste. We are a government project. Nobody trusts the government. And we are the first of its kind. With a project like that, we are dealing with very sensitive political topics. So we are not just a technical project, but we also need to cover the political side and the public relations side. That is why we need to inform the public as much as we can, as much information as the public wants. We need to give it. We should follow our mother's advice and clean up after ourselves rather than leave that to future generation. This is a good solution for this waste, to put it deep underground in places such as the WIPP. We should implement that solution rather than shove it off to future generations.
It is our fervent hope that this nuclear waste dump fulfills its promise without any problems, and that the need for its services be minimized in the future as we reduce the threat of nuclear war.
You know, time travel sounds way too complicated for me. I have a hard enough time getting up in the morning and getting to the studio.
Come on, Joe, where's your adventurous spirit? I mean, wouldn't you like to go back and meet yourself?
Well, my adventurous spirit is to search out extraordinary topics for scope. It's my life.
And what a life it is. Until then, so long, everybody.